Stephen, you all set?
All set, John.
I am, yeah.
Okay. We're going to call to order our first hearing of the evening, the first of three. And this is a consolidated hearing for two aspects of your applications. This is the application of Edmund Sela. Sela, okay. So let me briefly describe both applications and why we have two hearings. The first application is but they're being heard at the same time, is an application that was recently filed, and Mr. Sela received a variance to build the front porch of his house, and it was supposed to be located at a distance of 6.2 feet from the front property line, and as built, it was actually 4 feet 5 inches from the front property line, apparently by inadvertence. And so in order to correct the variance that was issued, Mr. Sela is seeking an amendment to that variance so as to provide the front property line, the distance can be 4.5 feet from the 6.2 feet. And that application, as I say, recently filed, we've taken no evidence on that application. The second application deals with Mr. Sela's request to build a 10-foot by 20-foot open deck addition to the rear of his house. It's at 39 Pine Grove Street in Milton. And the addition is proposed to be at a distance of 13 feet 8 inches from the rear property line, when the zoning bylaw has a minimum distance of 30 feet. And that application was originally heard on March 28th, 2019. At that time, Kathleen O'Donnell was chairing the Board of Appeals.
Yes.
That, as you probably know, for strange reasons, she ran for the planning board, and to her surprise, she was elected. So she's now sitting on the planning board, so we wish Kathleen all the best on the planning board, yes. She'll need it there. It's a very, very busy board. But she'll be the only attorney on the planning board, so it's a great move for the town, so we wish her the best. Yes, so what happened here is that when Kathleen was no longer sitting as acting chairman, I listened to the tape of the first hearing. I read the file, which we have here, and I actually snuck around your properties to take a look at the land and the proposed deck area and the topography and all of that. So I'm fully familiar with that. So I think I fairly summarized both applications. And the second application dealing with the rear deck, there was opposition to your application at that hearing. Yes. And so we continued this case, Ms. O'Donnell continued the case, so that you'd have an opportunity to talk to any people.
Yes, I had to know, yeah, we had to know.
No, just hold on here. We just have to set the stage. People out there need to know what's going on. And so we'll be able to hear from Mr. Sela as to whether we've made any progress in that regard. Okay, now with respect to the formalities, my name is John Leonard, and I'm chairman of the Board of Appeals. And to my immediate left is Attorney Nick Gray, and to my immediate right is Stephen Lundbohm, Attorney Stephen Lundbohm. The rules of the board are we're going to hear from the applicants. We'll hear from anyone else who wants to speak. And with respect to both of these applications, we'll listen to people who wish to speak in support or who wish to speak in opposition. And hopefully we'll be able to decide both of these hearings tonight. So you won't have to come back at some further time. The proceedings are being tape recorded tonight, and the tape recording is the official record of the hearing. So we'd ask that before anyone speaks, tell us your name and address, so when somebody's listening to the tape, we can figure out who is speaking, okay? I've summarized the applications. We've had evidence on the first application, which I'm not going to go into. With respect to the second application, we have the applicant 4/12/2019 application. We have the denial letter by Mr. Prondak, our building inspector. It's dated January 29th, 2019. We have a plot plan by, maybe it's Archetitude, I don't know, maybe it's Octitude. It's a very different name. It's dated April 16th, 2016, and it shows the proposed deck in relation to the lot. And we have some schematics of the proposed deck dated 4/15/2000. I think it's 18, but it's really so small that
Yeah, it's probably 18, yes.
I have to guess at
It
it.
is
I think it is.
It's definitely 18.
Okay, great. So with all of that as rather long preamble, welcome back to the Board of Appeals, Mr. Silla. Why don't you tell us where you are on the rear deck application, and then we'll go into the...
I'm Edmund Sella, one of the owners at 39 Pine Grove Street. Ilda Sella, my wife, the second owner at 39 Pine Grove Street.
Good, welcome to the board.
So, yes, we put the application, one of our neighbors thought that the deck was too big for the area, which many of the houses around there, including the house of our neighbor, the deck is bigger than what I'm proposing to. But, we just want to make everybody happy. We're here, we're not here to piss anybody off. We're not here to put you guys in a bad position to vote against one or the other, so.
Some people do that,
So, as a second option, we're proposing to make the deck 15 feet by 7.5. That way, everybody's happy. I offered my neighbors, we'll put evergreen trees. They'll never have to see the deck again, which basically, if you want to take a look at the picture, that's where her house is, and the picture is taken where the deck is supposed to be, and you cannot see her deck. That's where it is right now. But that's the deck. But anyway, we'll put evergreen trees. We'll block it off. We'll shrink down the deck. We just want to make everybody happy. We don't want to put you guys in a bad position having to vote against us or with us. Why is it going 15 feet? As you can see in this picture, there's two double doors that have to swing open. So they're 4.5 feet each. So it's going to need about 14 feet. 13, 14 feet just for the doors to swing open and function properly. Why we going 7.5 feet? The door is 4.5. 1 inch goes to the railing. We're going from corner to corner, from the doors to swing open. That's the way. That's as big as that wood platform that goes in there. That's exactly 15 feet. 15 feet and 2 inches, that wood platform that's there. So if, I don't want to put everybody in bad shape, if you guys feel that, the 20 foot is too big, we'll go down to the 15.5. We're happy with anything, we'll put a deck on the, pavers on the ground level. It's not.
So was your neighbor agreeable to this change?
Well, she came over, we talked about the 22-foot deck, I said we'll put evergreen trees, we'll do whatever it is to make them happy. In the beginning, they said the deck was too big, which all the houses around me, including her house, is bigger than my deck was supposed to be, which it's fine. They don't want the 22-foot deck, then I guess we'll shrink it down to, something that's going to be functional. We need to have something as a second egress exit. So we have to have some kind of deck.
I had thought from listening to the tape, and I
yeah.
couldn't see the people because the TV folks had somebody ill or something, and they couldn't televise the hearing. I thought one of the principal objections to the deck as you were proposing it was not necessarily the length of the deck, but it was the height of the deck in relation to the neighbor's property, that it was substantially higher and that it would be visible even if you put up evergreen trees.
Well, it wouldn't be, because evergreen trees will be up to 20 to 22 feet, and that's probably about 8 feet up from the ground. So if it's got 22-foot trees all in front of the property, you
So did
won't even be able to see the house.
Did you discuss that with your neighbor?
Yes,
And did you agree to put 22-foot trees up there?
we will put 22-foot trees up there. She's here right now.
She is, oh,
Yes.
okay. So, do you have any, I don't mean to be over
I have to,
technical.
yeah, we have to have some kind of platform at that, I'm sorry.
Well, you do, but you could have a small platform, you could have a deck, you could have stairs going down,
That's basically what we're gonna do.
and you could do the deck on the,
That's what we do.
on the ground.
The only reason why I'm,
You're not doing that, you'd be just shrinking the size of the deck.
Well-
Are you going to have a deck that's basically on the ground?
yes, and this is gonna be basically, this is gonna be 15 by 7.5, enough for the doors to swing open, and enough to have room for the door to swing open, both doors.
Okay, and are you going to have tables and chairs and
Well, we'll probably have a table, a
barbecue?
chair, a barbecue on the ground level, not on the deck.
Okay, so what are you doing on the ground level? You didn't tell us about that.
Oh,
Is it
that's-
just
that's what I said.
just
We're
going to be on the
put
grass?
pavers,
Oh, pavers, okay.
pavers, a grill, and a table.
Do you have a paving plan for us?
I don't have a paving plan.
Okay, well, what's going to be the distance that the pavers are going to be from the rear lot line? I mean, do you have a plan showing that? You're just going to build it out with pavers?
Just for basically pavers around the deck, enough to put the barbecue up there. The rest of it, it's all grass, it's already planted, the rest of the yard is already all done. So I can show you here, I can
well,
pull
how-
a picture
how-
out and show you
no.
exactly, because I don't know about
Picture of the pavers?
the measurements. Show you the pictures. That's closed to the deck. So we got about 8 feet from the house, what's left empty, 8 feet all the way up to the end. The rest of it, it's all planted, it's all grass, and it's already all done. The landscaping, it's all done. So the deck will be here, and then down here, when you come out of the basement door, 8 feet out, and underneath the deck, it's gonna be all pavers. So it's gonna be 20 feet by 8 feet.
Okay, and how far is it going to be from the rear lot line?
Same as the deck, so it's gonna be right underneath the deck. It's gonna start from the deck corner,
Oh, I see.
all the way up to the front door.
So
It's gonna be under the deck, and then
gonna
it's
be-
gonna come outside from the deck, and just where the basement door, when you come out of the basement door, basically, you're not gonna come right on the grass, so it's gonna have pavers there. And I'm planning to put a barbecue right against the wall.
Okay, well, you can put the barbecue anywhere, but,
No,
okay. Tell me about the evergreens you're going to put in. Do you know how many evergreens you're going to put in?
how many we're gonna put in? At least 30,
30.
yes. Gonna close it all around.
Okay, 30 22-foot evergreens.
22 foot, so you go up to 22 feet. 22 to 24 this
They're going to be 22 to 24
22
feet
to 24.
at the time of installation. at
At
the
the
time of
time of
planting.
installation, they're gonna be about 10 to 12 feet. They go up to 22 to 24.
Well, I know that. That's what
Oh, I'm
that's what I
sorry.
mean.
Okay.
To me, 30 evergreens at 22 feet in height would be an enormous
Oh, no, they'll be an
expense, Steve.
enormous job, yeah. These are $125 each that I'm paying for. They come between 10 to 12 feet on height.
And do you know how many feet they grow approximately a
22
year?
to 24.
No, a year.
Oh, a year, I don't know.
Okay, so when the 12 feet evergreens are in place, let's assume you get your variance.
You still wouldn't be able to see the deck.
You still couldn't see the deck?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything from the 12 feet to the 22 feet is just
Just gonna block the rest of
extra
the house.
protection?
It's just gonna block the rest of the house, basically. Which we already have a big tree out on the back, and you can, it blocks everything now that the leaves are out. You can see this picture was taken out this morning. This tree, that's in my backyard, so you can't really see anything, and there's reeds everywhere, so you can't see it.
Where is Miss Quinlan's house? Right here, okay.
Okay, and have you discussed the evergreens with your neighbor?
Yes.
Okay.
I told them we will put evergreen.
Pardon me?
No, I'm sorry, but none of this has been discussed.
Okay, well, we'll give you your
I
opportunity.
asked, we're gonna put evergreen trees everywhere.
You said it was an option. I
Yes.
don't know this new plan.
Oh,
I've
okay.
seen nothing.
Well, there's no plan, there's nothing to see, I'm just offering them, exchange.
But-
So if we don't-
Yeah, but Mr. Saylor, this is not the time for negotiations here.
No, I understand.
This is the time for a hearing when we make decisions. And if we take the hearing process in the way you're going, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, you'll be back here for the next 6 hearings. We'll never get anything done, okay? So to me, and I don't want to be overly technical, and I don't want you to spend more money than you have to, but I would think some type of sketch plan showing what you intended to do under the deck would really be important.
The deck basically just plain pavers, nothing else. We're not planning anything, we're not doing anything.
Right, but we have nothing before us but your word. If Mr. Prondak, the building inspector, wants to find out what the Board of Appeals has done and why we've done it, we have nothing to show him. We don't have a plan
We
to
don't
show
have to
him.
put anything under the deck, that's fine, we can get rid of the pavers.
Yeah, maybe you should put something under the deck. I don't care. We're not trying to tell you you can't
No,
put
I
anything
understand.
under the
I just
deck. And normally, under these circumstances, you'd go to your landscaper, and if you're buying 30 trees at $125 each, my guess that most landscapers will go in the back room and they'll do a sketch plan for you, showing where the trees are going to be and what they're going to look like, and then that's part of your application, see? So, okay, so we hear what you're saying on the deck. Why don't we talk about the front yard?
Okay,
Why don't you tell us about that and why we should give you a variance on the
okay.
front
The
yard?
front yard, okay, it was a misunderstanding all along from the beginning, because the stairs, they don't count, as they said on the backyard, the stairs don't count. I guess we did have it that the end of the stairs on the permit, it has to be this. So everybody was confused. When the building inspector came in for the final inspection, he signed the occupancy permit, everything passed out, everything was normal. About a couple of weeks later, the other inspector came by and measured the deck with a measuring tape, and then he said, well, I overlooked at the whole application and everything from the beginning, and the stairs actually count on this matter.
They do count, yeah, they do.
So, well, in the back deck, they don't count.
Well, they probably don't count because they're irrelevant, you've got so much room in the back, but you've got a
No.
very small distance in the
No,
front.
he said the stairs don't count, but on this option, in this matter, when we got the permit, it says the end of the stairs have to be at that distance, so that's exactly why the 2 feet.
Okay, okay, and
It
so
was done extra, so.
it was done.
It was just confusion.
It was
between everybody.
inadvertent. Right, it was inadvertent.
Yes, it was,
Okay.
it was a big confusion between everybody. Either even the inspector, nobody knew in the beginning.
Do you have anything you'd like to add on the front? Okay. Now, what we're going to do here to make some sense of the hearing is let's deal with the front variance first. So dealing with the front variance first, is there anybody present here tonight who would like to speak in support of Mr. Saylor's application for a variance to allow the front porch to be 4.5 feet from the front property line? Okay, so there's nobody speaking in support. Is there anybody who speaks in opposition to the variance on the frontage to be 4.5 feet rather than the 6 feet, whatever technically it is? No, so there's nobody opposing that portion of your application, which is good. So is there anybody who has any questions of Mr. Saylor on dealing with the front variance request? And there's nobody who wants to speak. So why don't we end
Front deck.
your application to amend the existing variance? So that case is now closed, and we'll discuss that when we discuss the second part of this. Okay? Now, with respect to the rear variance, rear yard variance. Is there anybody who'd like to be heard
Yes.
on that? Yes, ma'am. Why don't you come on up? Why don't you tell us your name and address, please?
My name is Denise Quinlan, Quinlan. I live at 27 Hope Ave.
Okay. And you spoke in opposition?
I did speak in opposition.
At the original hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us
Okay.
what you'd like to
So,
say?
trees or no trees, I can see directly into that house. This evening, there was a man in the back in your kitchen with a red sweatshirt on. Pictures don't show what I can see or what I cannot see. I'm sitting in my den and I look out the window. I can see directly into your home until you pull down the blinds that are on those sliding doors. I also met with Nancy Carr, who owns the property beside me, in the house beside that. So there are 3 houses directly behind. She unfortunately could not be here this evening. I explained his plans. She's in opposition. If she needs to send an email, she asked that I please let her know the outcome of this meeting. I met with her following the meeting, the original meeting last month. I also explained how he offered to plant trees. She said that she'd be long gone by the time those trees were high enough. One of the problems is the elevation of the house and the deck. I met with Mr. Sella, went into his backyard. I could see directly into Nancy Carr's second-floor windows. This new plan has not been discussed with any neighbors, and I still don't understand what's being called a deck on the back of the house. I am familiar with that board that's in the back of the house. It looks like it goes almost the full length, but I'm still unclear on what the plan for this is. And I'm not confident that there will be 30 trees planted.
Well, if there was an agreement to do that, we'd enforce that, and the building inspector would go out and count them and measure the height of the trees.
But a 10-foot tree is not going to prevent me from seeing in that house because of the elevation of the
Okay.
deck.
Do you, see, I'm not an engineer.
Neither am I.
Sometimes I think that's a good idea, because I shouldn't be building things. But have you spoken with anybody who is a landscaper or a land use planner or an engineer who could tell you how high those trees would have to be so that you could not see into Mr. Seller's kitchen?
No, I have not.
Let's assume, and I don't want to put you on the spot, let's assume it was 22 feet, like Mr. Seller said these trees were going to grow up to, if that would block the kitchen. And he would build his deck as he suggested to us at this hearing. Where would you stand on this application?
But the trees going to go in, they're going to be 22 feet high?
Well, I'm telling you, if we assume that an engineer said, if those trees are 22 foot high, standing in your backyard, you could not see into his garage, okay? Would you be satisfied with this application, or would you just
Depending
continue to
on-
object to it?
I'd like to see what that deck is like. I still don't understand. Is it a deck? Is it not a deck? Is it just a staircase?
No, it's a deck. It's a deck with a railing around it, and no, it's a full-scale deck, but which has been diminished in size.
Does the new size meet the guidelines or the requirements of?
Well, I think so. I don't know that there's any minimum deck size. I mean,
No, I mean, it's,
Mr. Seller's
From the
point is
land.
that to open, he's got 4-foot doors, and to open the doors, you need that type of span so that both doors could open.
Exactly.
Maybe even in the instance, if you take a very bad example, if the house was on fire, you'd want somebody to be able to open the doors, okay?
I would think that you
Okay.
would.
But that doesn't mean.
You would need to have that in a house before you move in, a
Well, that-
front and back exit.
Right, I think it's just to meet safety.
doesn't
But that
exist.
doesn't mean you'd have to have a deck of
Right,
the.
you could have a
of the-
staircase.
You could have a staircase, right. It opens and the staircase goes down. Do you think, you want to consult, let me tell you what if you're adamantly opposed to trees being a remedy for the deck, then we'll deal with the application. I think unfortunately, Ms. DeSella, you need somebody to communicate better for you. And if you had a third party, a lawyer, or somebody, an engineer or somebody who could sketch this out and maybe talk with Ms. Quinlan and show what was going to be done to see if you can reach an agreement. I thought that was, bless you, yes, I thought that was going to take place. And apparently it didn't take place. In other words, I think you need a facilitator, or mediator, or somebody. If people can't communicate with each other, we'll make a decision on this if we have to.
The 22-foot trees, you won't even be able to see the house behind the point. 12-foot trees.
I don't know that. You say that, but I don't know that. You're not a landscaper. I saw the property and I saw your house, and they're both beautiful properties.
22-foot trees, they come up to the second floor.
I didn't go walking around the backyard of the house for fear of somebody would have me arrested or shoot me.
I wish you did.
Maybe I should have scheduled an appointment to go out and see it. Okay, let me do this. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Ms. Quinlan? Let me involve the patience of my colleagues here and see if we can come to some consensus here as procedurally where we could be here. Mr. Gray.
Hi, thank you for that. I'm a little confused as to it's very difficult for us to act without like a diagram and a plan so that we have to tie our decision if we were to vote in favor. We have to tie our decision into the materials that you've presented so that, as Mr. Leonard said, the building inspector has something to go back and inspect. Without a detailed plan of what the deck is going to look like, it's hard for us to know what to vote on, what to approve or not to approve. It's like we don't have enough evidence upon which to make a decision. You see what I'm saying? So I was trying to make some notes while you were talking to understand what you're proposing or re-proposing. As the plan that was presented to us, your back deck needs to be, at least in order to build it as of right without having a variance, as I understand it, it needs to be 30 feet from your rear lot line. Okay, it has to be 30 feet away from it. The plan that was submitted says it's 13.8 feet away. Okay, so obviously that's too close, so you need to ask us to approve 13.8 feet. Okay, you were.
But I was going to say, why are we in this situation? Well, somebody who's building and renovating the house.
Right.
Why wasn't this explained to Mr. Sella that no matter what he did, he's going to need a 20-foot variance on the rear lot line?
Right.
Were you aware of that when you were doing your improvements to your house, that you'd need a substantial variance?
Yeah, we have to, we have a permit to put a platform and stairs to come down. We're basically just making this platform, we're trying to make this platform bigger so the doors can swing open.
Where's your permit?
When we got the permits to build the house is brand new.
Right, it wasn't pointed out that to build anything on the back of the house in the yard that should need a substantial variance?
We already have permits for a platform and stairs coming down. We're basically just making this platform bigger.
Bigger, right.
Okay.
We already have a permit I can put the platform on tomorrow. The building inspector wants to have this done because he wants to have, we're already moved in the house and he wants to have a second exit on the house. So we already permitted to have a platform there. We're basically making the platform bigger. The platform is as big as the two doors.
You think the platform doesn't...
Cannot swing the both doors open all the way.
Well, I understand that, but maybe you don't build those doors. But considering you got your building permit, and you say it was permitted with a platform.
Oh, yeah.
But that platform is more than 30.
So
It's within the 30 feet
The
barrier.
platform ends,
figure it out.
the
So,
platform ends exactly where the deck ends, at the 13 feet. I already, so,
sorry, is there a plot plan?
Yeah, I think-
I'm sorry, I don't know.
My understanding is the original plan called for a staircase out the back of the house when it was submitted, and it was approved. Now, we're looking for this extended deck, which does not meet the original variance.
Okay. So I'm looking at the plot plan, and I see stairs coming off the back. I don't see the deck on the map. So it's, what I'm trying to figure out is, I note that the lot is this, has a strange shape on the back, right? It's
Right, and the
right?
topography is-
Topography is a little odd. So if the 22-foot dimension goes across the back of the house, so that's, I'm sorry, that's this.
Yes, it is.
So it's extending out this way. Oh, the stairs and the landing come down. So in the letter as proposed, he's looking for, it must be 13.8 feet away from this back line someplace. That's,
from the sideline right here, the sidewall right here.
okay, well, it's a rear lot line, so I'm assuming it's this point, right?
It's right at the corner, the lot comes out,
Okay.
so it's right at the corner there.
Okay, so it's, I guess it's this corner that's causing the trouble. He mentioned in the oral testimony that he would shrink the deck size from 22 by 10, which is 22 going across the whole length and 10 feet out, to 15 by 7.5. So does that shrink, I guess that shrinks the distance out from the house from 10 feet to 7.5.
Yes.
Even at that distance,
That's right.
it's not making 30 feet. Do I have that correct?
It's not even close.
Not even close. So,
But this is the plot plan that was filed.
Right.
It doesn't show a deck,
Doesn't show- so
but it shows concrete pavers.
so my problem is.
Concrete pavers were there before the old house, so it
That-
shows
that's
what
the-
whatever the
I see.
existing
This is the
problem.
Are
old-
you gonna replace those, or are you gonna
Those
leave
are
them as
gone
they-
already,
They're
it's
gone.
just missing there.
Okay,
Just
so you-
wide open.
So I personally would find it very difficult to approve a variance on a dimensional violation when I don't have a plot plan in front of me that shows exactly where the violation is and what the distance is, or that illustrates the change that you were talking about making, changing the size of the deck from 7.5 to 15 feet. I need to see that drawn out on a plot plan to exactly, so that we could all get a sense of exactly what it's going to be like. But even if we did that, the main objection that I'm hearing is not so much the distance, the size of the deck, but its elevation, its height. In other words, in looking at the pictures of your house in the backyard and the topography, because of the way your lot is shaped or because of the way the house was built, your stairs, your back door is fairly high up on from
Yeah,
the
because the
yard.
property comes down.
Exactly, and it's the same problem in my house where I live. So, but that means that your deck is going to be at a very high level relative to the houses behind you, your rear abutters.
It's almost like a porch.
Right, so it's, and I can understand it, it would be a disturbing loss of privacy, even with the trees perhaps, because that would result from having, a deck that can peer right down into the backyard. So when I'm hearing opposition to the height of the deck, and I don't have enough information in the plan in order to base a decision, I would find it difficult. I mean, I'm happy to listen to my colleagues, but I'd find it difficult to approve a plan when I don't have enough of the information ahead on me, as much as I would, like to help, because I understand you do need a way out of the back of your house.
But even if I had a platform there, it still doesn't make any closer or any,
Yeah.
if I have a platform there, it's gonna be it's gonna be 4 feet, it's gonna be 4 feet wide.
Right, but there's not gonna be entertainment, and nobody's gonna be barbecuing, and
Well, it's still
nobody's gonna be
nobody's gonna be
partying at
barbecue-
9:30 or 10 o'clock
No,
at
it's still
night.
nobody's gonna be barbecuing on, it's still not enough space at 15 feet by 7.5. You can hardly, at 7.5, you can't have a table and a chair on each side. 7.5 feet, it's very
It's
narrow.
tight, it's tight.
It's not a party deck.
Okay.
It's basically just have, so the doors can swing open and we can go out, because would have to have some kind of platform once you come out of the door, you need a platform.
I certainly hope you have
To
one, or
have-
you're gonna be,
To have stairs to come down, you can just have You can just come out of the door and have a stair directly. I think by code, you have to have some kind of
13
platform.
feet from the property line is, and I'm sorry, this isn't the place, but not a party house. I've been listening to your outdoor speakers for the last week and this week, so let's not get into who's having a barbecue or not.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lindbaum, do you want to be?
Let me try to come at it from a
I mean,
different.
it's 5 after 8 here, and we have two
How
more
high is
hearings
that fence?
involve important
6 feet.
issues.
Okay. And if you were to plant the trees, where were they going to be planted?
Right against the fence,
Right
all along the
fence?
fence. All around the fence, and they're gonna be twice as high as the deck.
Denise, this is your house here,
Correct.
right? And is that a deck back there?
This picture is taken from my kitchen,
Okay.
so you know from the height where it's
That's
taken.
from the kitchen?
That's from the kitchen
From
window.
this window here?
Yes, from inside
Okay.
the house. Because I
you
can't,
seen-
I can't see her deck if I'm standing
Have you
in my
seen
yard.
that photo?
No,
Just look at that for a second. I guess I would only ask your thought anyway, if there were 12-foot trees along that fence, and I can see where,
twice as
hold on,
long.
please, and I can see where your house is and your deck. What do you think?
I think this picture's deceiving. I'm sorry. I can see it right into their home when I'm sitting in my house. Was
Right,
there
but-
not tonight? A man with a red sweatshirt on. It all depends on the angle of the photograph, sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Putting aside noise and partying and all of that, which may be a consideration of yours, does it make any sense to have the landscaper go out there and have a barrier of some kind, a top or something, that would be 22 feet above ground level to actually show you what you could see from your backyard if he built 22-foot trees? And assume they're going to be dense enough, we could deal with that. Or are you just opposed to the whole thing?
I agree with you. I think there needs to be a plan. Like to see, what is this gonna look like? We haven't seen anything. And it's not just me. I'm guaranteed the next meeting, my neighbor Nancy Carr will be up here with me. It's even closer to her property, so I don't think it's just my decision, but I do think that we need to see a full plan of what we expect this to look like as neighbors living directly behind this.
Right, but you're gonna look at a plan, and you're still not going to know, looking at the plan, if you're standing in the middle of your backyard, and these trees are 22 feet high, at that back location, what you're going to see. And the only way you're gonna see that is if somebody puts up a barrier that's, or a top or something.
Mock-up.
Yeah, a mark at the 22 feet, and you can see what you can see, and if you don't like it, then you can make a decision, but you're never gonna know. I can get the finest landscape plan for you in the world, and you're gonna say, the trees are beautiful, now can I see over them, or can I see through them? It's never gonna work. Could you have your landscaper in mind?
I have plenty of landscapers.
I mean, can they do something like that? Do they do a mock-up of what a 22-foot evergreen would look like?
I could tell you on the picture, because the fence that you're looking at, it's 6 feet, and a minimum 12 feet, we're talking about when the trees get put on, it's gonna be twice as big as the fence. So you can see her windows now, but you can see the edge of the window, so you're adding another 6 feet on top of that fence.
Well, you may, but that's not evidence that would convince me that we should have Mrs. Quinlan in this situation walking out of here saying she doesn't know whether she can see over the evergreens or not.
22 feet, it's second floor. They go up to second floor height.
I say it depends on where you're standing, okay? And if you're standing right next to the evergreens, you're not gonna see above them. If you're standing in the middle of the yard, I don't know what you can see. And if I'm standing back by Mrs. Quinlan's house, I don't have the slightest idea what you can see unless there's a barrier there or some type of marking that you can judge. Now, do you want to do something like that, or do you prefer not to?
I don't know, how could you do a marking like that?
Because you get a landscaper out there, and he has 3 posts, 1, 2, 3, and he takes a top, and he hangs it off the posts, okay? And you take a measure, and you go up 22 feet, and you set it up there. And then you walk around the backyard and you can see exactly, if you assume the trees are 22 feet high and you're willing to expend that amount of money to buy 22-foot evergreens, and I think they cost more than $125
No, they
each.
come 12 feet, and they grow up to
Yeah,
22.
you're talking 12 feet. 12 feet will never do it here.
No, they start at 12. They bring them in at 12, and they grow up to 22.
I'll be 88.
Yeah, well, that's the point. So that's what you want to do. You want it 12 feet and let it grow up to 22.
Yes. But even with 12 feet, you can't see my house from our house.
I don't want to play lawyers'
No, I
games with you,
understand.
I really don't. So do you want to have the landscaper go out there with some type of device to show you what 22-foot trees would look like? Do you want to do that, Mrs. Gorham? She'll do it. Do you want to do it?
I'll
If
do
you
it.
don't,
I just
that's
want
fine.
to get,
We'll
I
vote
just
on
want to
the
get this,
application.
I just want to get this, because my two neighbors are very upset because the driveway looks like crap, it's not done. You know, my other two neighbors are all pissed off because they want to have the driveway fixed, and they want to have the material, the landscaping material, the deck material gone, and the inspector wants it gone. He came at the house twice, and he's like, we need to get this deck going, because your house looks, both neighbors on each side are complaining.
I understand. If you agreed to the 22 feet after it was proven to you that you couldn't see into his kitchen, do you think Mrs. Carr, who probably would be here at another hearing, do you think she'd still be opposed to this application?
I can't,
You know,
I don't feel
I
like I
mean,
can speak. for
otherwise,
her.
we're going to have hearings after hearings, and this is never ending. It's punishment.
I'm still not clear about the new size of the platform now that it's called.
Well,
Is it still 13 feet from the property line with it's supposed to be 20?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's 13 point, whatever it is now, so we're shrinking the deck 2.5 feet, so it's adding 2.5 feet for it. So it's 13.5 away now, it's gonna be, it's 14, 16 feet away from the corner lot. Even if I put a platform there, just a platform with stairs, we're still looking at 14 feet. So that 14 feet is never gonna change. That's 16 feet. It's never gonna change, even if I do what I have permitted for now.
Look, I don't know what to tell you, okay? I'll tell you this. It's enormously, legally speaking, it's enormously difficult to get a variance, okay? And if you look at Massachusetts case law, I don't think there are any variances that are universally reversed if they're granted and there's opposition and somebody challenges your variance, okay?
No, I'm
So-
just
so-
trying to explain the,
I know you are, but I think,
because this is, I have a pen here. The 13 feet comes out right here, right on the corner where this wall ends right here. So it's from the end of the deck here, where the deck ends, up to here is 13 feet. So it doesn't matter how big or small we do the deck is always gonna start right here. And it's always gonna be the same distance away.
wait, but see, you have to face the first issue is the plans that we have, and apparently that you submitted to the building inspector, doesn't have a deck. It's got a little platform that
Yes, even the
conforms
pla-
with
even-
safety requirements.
Even the platform, it's still gonna be 14 feet. It's still gonna be 16 feet away.
Right, but
from
we can't change the health and
Yeah.
safety codes.
I understand.
But you want to take that minimal intrusion, you want to take it into a large deck, and now you've
Yes,
shrunk the deck.
we're basically going this way, we're not moving this way. So this way, it's always gonna be the same distance. I'm just trying to explain like the 13, the
No, I
14
understand,
feet.
but, I really think that you should seriously consider having somebody
I understand, I just
represent
spent so
you.
much money with this,
and try to make a deal, because you have no votes. I think you have no votes in favor of this application for a variance for the rear deck. You don't have any votes. On the law, you're not entitled to the variance. The only way you get a variance here is if the neighbors don't object, and you modify your plan so that their objections are met. And I saw your house, I'm looking at it now. If you don't get this variance, your backyard's gonna look foolish. It is. it's going to look foolish, but you don't seem willing to compromise enough to get your neighbors to agree.
I'll compromise anyway, you know, I wanted to do the deck all the way to the end, you know, I'll go as much as the both doors get to swing open. I'll put evergreen trees that were not planned on the expenses to go there, you know, whatever, that's all to make everybody happy, that's not, that I want to have evergreen trees.
You want to be heard anymore?
I don't think so.
It's 8:15. Mr. Saylor, are you willing to hire somebody
I'm willing to do anything.
who will attempt to resolve this matter?
No, I'm willing to do anything, I just want to know, like, what, if the trees, you know, will make the
Right, but-
neighbor happy, we'll make sure that we'll hire somebody to show her exactly what's it gonna look, what's gonna, we'll look at.
That's what we want. That's what she wants. She wants to know for a certainty that when the trees are built,
Yes.
strike it, when they're placed, they're going to be placed as shown on a landscaping plan, and it doesn't have to be signed by somebody who plants landscaping for New York City houses or anything. And she wants to know, Ms. Quinlan wants to know, if she's in her backyard, are those trees going to be 22 feet high, and are they going to block the view to your kitchen? And she's saying if they are, she's going to be satisfied. You can build your deck.
I can have that done tomorrow.
I also said I'd like to know.
It should have been done weeks ago.
What's the new plan? Is it the same? I'm still not sure about what this platform, the size, it's still unclear to me. And there's nothing showing me what that's going to look like.
Are you able to, and look at, if we were going to allow this variance, Mr. Prondak, our building inspector, would insist on the plan. A definitive plan, something like this. It's not expensive to prepare. Show the exact dimensions of the deck.
$1,500.
$1,500.
That's what I paid for the first one. Because
Well,
once
that's
you get the
dealing
deck, you gotta get,
If you do the house. We just want to know what the deck is going to look like. You're as proposed.
okay. Identical as the other one, it's just gonna be smaller, that's it. 15, instead of 22 feet, it's gonna be 15. Instead of 10 feet long, it's gonna shrink down to 7.5. Just enough to have just enough for the doors to open.
Right.
So why would you need a variance if it's smaller than the original one that was
It
granted?
still won't, it won't complain, it won't
It won't
comply
come
even
in.
after the shrinkage.
Okay.
It's extremely difficult to approve a variance for a deck plan that doesn't exist on paper, okay, that we can't see it. Okay, that's what we're.
Well,
kind of-
right, and see, if we just apply the law here and forget our patience or our lack of patience, and we deny your variance, okay, your backyard is going to look that way. Because you can't come in tomorrow and apply for a new variance. You're 2 years out.
I know.
So your backyard's going to look like that for 2 years. What do you want that for?
No, I don't want that. I wanna have this, done yesterday. So I can finish
this
to the
was-
backyard
this-
and, move on.
This was the live issue at the last hearing. We went over this, and I thought that we would be looking at a deck plan tonight.
Agreed to
This is
by-
why we continued the hearing, and there appears that there wasn't much or any communication with the neighbors until perhaps today or tonight, and only now are we hearing about a new proposal for a different size, and we still have
only-
nothing to look
The
at.
only reason why I'm proposing this is to make them happy. I'd
this
rather
is-
do the 22 by.
You're not hearing, you're not hearing me. This is why we continued this hearing back in March, because everybody was here, and to specifically give you people the opportunity to sit down and talk and come up with ideas and a plan, and then come back here tonight and see what you had. But you come in here, and it doesn't appear that you spoke or got anything constructive done, and you're kind of throwing out these things, and we can't make a decision on what you're giving us. Or
We can
if
make a
if we
decision,
do,
but
right,
it won't be a
it's
favorable
not gonna be a
decision.
good one.
That's for sure. You prefer to vote on the second variance application?
We have a front
Give them
porch and
Yeah,
a
we can
and a
vote the
deck.
front, right, we can vote the front porch and defer on the deck, or we can vote on the deck as well. I think this, Mr. Sella, let me be perfectly frank. You're a nice man, and your wife is very, very patient. Thank you for putting up with us, okay? I think you need some professional help to get this deck allowed by the board, okay? And I think I don't know what your line of business is. You're a very nice man. You're well-intended. You're well-intended. But I think you need somebody to speak for you and plan for you, and put this together for you. And to talk with Mrs. Quinlan and Miss Carr weeks before the next hearing, if there is a next hearing, so that this can be taken care of and everyone can come before the board and be happy. They'll have a resolution that makes consummate sense. And I think that you've got a beautiful house and it's going to look great. I think you're going to have to spend some more money, not a lot of money, but considering the value of your house and how your house will be improved with the deck. If I were you, I can't tell you what to do, okay? But if I were you, I would talk with Mr. Prondak, the building inspector, and he can give you 4 or 5 names of very well-respected Milton attorneys who do this every day in their life, and who could take this off of your back, would get the plot plans, would talk to Mrs. Quinlan, would check out the planting landscape plan, determine what height these evergreens have to be to block out your kitchen from Mrs. Quinlan, and have that package put together, come before the board with an assented to application, and it probably would reach the favor of the board. But this way of going back and forth and not having plans and not having sketches, and it's just, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. You're entitled to present your own application, just like you're entitled to perform brain surgery on yourself. Most people wouldn't recommend it. There are easier ways to live, and that hopefully make things productive. So if you want, I mean, I'm going to urge my colleagues, 3 votes. To get a variance, you need 3 votes, unanimous, not 2 votes. You need 3 votes. I'm not even sure there are 2 votes to continue this to another hearing date. But I would discuss that with my colleagues to see if they want, but we need to hear from you that you're willing to take the steps that are necessary to get this done.
No, we're willing to do anything. I just want to know,
Right, but what do you do for a living?
I'm in the produce business.
Okay. If you asked me to go down to the Milton marketplace and order produce for them, they'd be closed in 1 week, because I know nothing about produce. I know nothing about selecting it, presenting it, and keeping it cool, and my produce would have the health department putting me in jail, okay? Sometimes when you're dealing with issues like this, these are more technical, legal issues, okay? And I think that it would do 2 things for you. One, it would be more expensive, okay? But the local lawyers in Milton who do this type of work wouldn't take advantage of you under these circumstances, in my view. And secondly, it will relieve you of these technical obligations, plans, heights, and would allow this application on the rear to be put together in a professional, clean way and hopefully get it allowed. I think that's your best hope of getting the variance, but if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. You don't have to. We can vote the variance up or down, but then you're stuck with it, okay? Now, in instances like this, and now we're almost an hour into the hearing, we've continued hearings like this to allow the people to try to agree, okay? That's in everyone's best interests. And we don't like to impose technical deadlines and timelines on people. But this has got to be brought to an end. And I'm not sure, under these circumstances, and I don't know Mrs. Carr and how resolute she's going to be, I think you need some professional assistance to get this done. And I think it will make you a happy man, and certainly will make Mrs. Saylor happy having a yard that's completed, that has some type of a deck, and has some brownstones that you can enjoy your barbecue on. And your neighbors will be happy. What could be better than that? So, do you want a continuance in this hearing dealing with the rear deck?
Yeah,
To see if you can take our advice and get this done?
yeah, if that's, we'll have the professional drawings, we'll have the 12-foot trees pictured out, we'll see how much you're gonna be able to see.
But what I think you should do first, and here, I'm not a landscaper.
Yeah, no.
You gotta figure out how high those trees have to be in order to block out your kitchen. Because if they're 25 feet and those trees are $400 each at that height, you may not want to do that. You may not want to afford to do that. You may not be able to afford to do it. I don't know, that's your
Well,
business.
the architect, I'm sure, will be able to figure out.
Well, let him figure it out and let him go over and talk with Mrs. Quinlan and get Mrs. Carr there and have it demonstrated to them. And maybe everyone will be happy. But I think what's going to happen here, and we're delighted to hear from you on another occasion, you're going to come back here with a deal, or there's going to be no deal, okay? And it's going to get voted on, and it's going to get voted on in about 9 minutes, okay? Because we've heard this for too long. You either have an agreed upon application, or you're asking for too much relief on the rear. And we can point to variances that we've granted that people ordinarily wouldn't get, but everyone agrees to the application. Everyone's happy. And we know, it's a crazy lot. The topography, it looks like an arrow, and the topography is high. So those are issues we've got to live with. So my suggestion to you is, but you don't have to take it, that we vote on the front yard variance here and now, and then we continue this for a third and last hearing, to allow you to get whether you want to use an architect. If you don't have to hire a lawyer. But if your architect can do it, that's great. They have to leave that to you. But if he doesn't do it, and he doesn't do it right, don't blame us, okay? We've told you how these hearings generally go down. And Mr. Prondak will give you the name of 5 lawyers in Milton who do this every day of the week.
I have a lawyer in Milton, because
Good for you.
he did the house when
The purchase of the house.
No, when I did the zoning for the house. When
Oh,
I did the
okay.
permits for the house.
Yeah, I don't-
had a lawyer that represented
I don't
us.
remember who, do you know who that was?
He's in Quincy Center, I forget what his last
Oh,
name.
okay.
You know his last name? I forget.
Not Mr.
He's
Timmons,
he's
is it?
very, no, he's an older gentleman, he's in East Milton Square, it's his office by Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh,
Mr. Sheffield.
Sheffield.
Mr. Sheffield.
Mr. Sheffield
Well,
represented
he's
me in the house.
before us all the time.
I know.
And he's back from Florida.
Yes,
Okay, we saw him here the other night. He's back from Florida, so, yeah, I think you should really talk with Mr. Sheffield or somebody else. So, Nick, and
I'm willing to entertain another continuance
Yeah.
on the deck.
give it one more shot.
One more try.
okay. It's called the last and final
Last and
opportunity.
final.
Okay?
Are we picking a date?
Yes.
Second or third week of July? So, yeah. Either or, doesn't,
But June is totally booked?
Yeah, well, the 20, the last week in June is not. But,
The third week is booked?
yeah, the 20th, I've got 4 on that night.
That must be Mr. Corcoran's night.
Could be.
I don't know. So how about, that's the only set of hearings that night?
Yes, I have 4 hearings that night.
Okay, what's the following week?
The following week, June
24.
25th, 26th, and 27th.
I'm available.
Do the
Yeah,
25th.
either of those, any of
Wanna
those.
do the end of June?
Mr. Saylor, the 25, 26, or 27th of June?
Okay.
Does it make any difference to you? That's Tuesday, Wednesday, or
Sooner the
Thursday?
better, for me, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
25th.
25th?
27th.
How about, I'm sorry, Mrs. Quinlan, what,
25th or the 26th?
25th.
25th.
okay, so what we're gonna do is continue this until the 25th to give you a chance, hopefully, to talk to Mr. Sheffield or your engineer or somebody. Don't ask them to listen to the tape here. They'll charge you a fortune to sit here for an hour listening to this tape. They'll think we're all crazy, okay? But he'll know what to do. You know what the issues are. So we're going to continue this until the 25th of June at 7:30. And this hearing is going to be over, I assure you, by 7:45. Okay, it's not going to be a long hearing.
Let's see what other cases on.
I will not.
Okay. So we're continued until January 25th, 2019, June. I said January. I can't even read my...
We're really going out for,
No, I think with this, I'm not going to be around in January, so then I won't have to face this anymore. So June 25th, 7:30, and hopefully you'll come to us well in advance and have this matter resolved. Now, that's on the first application. That's the rear yard application. Now, do you want to discuss the front yard setback? Mr. Ray?
Well, we're faced with a set of stairs that was built, I don't know, 1.5 feet too long. And not sure why that is. I guess it doesn't really matter at the moment. No one has appeared in opposition or in favor of it. It's,
Except Mr. Seller.
well,
He's in favor
sorry,
of
I
his
meant
own
no one
application.
else, obviously.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to
No,
make
no,
humor out of
you're
a
right,
bad
of course.
experience.
I misspoke. I guess I would be, in light of those facts, in favor of granting the relief.
Mr. Lumbo?
As would I. It appears to have been an issue of mistake or inadvertence by somebody, possibly not attributable to Mr. Seller. It's a beautiful porch. We'd hate to have to take that down.
Yeah.
So I would be in favor of that variance.
Okay, well, I think my learned colleagues have explained things very, very well. I also intend to vote in favor of this application to allow the front porch and the steps to be at a distance of 4.5 feet from the front lot line. So all those in favor of granting an amendment to the variance that was previously issued in this matter, it's somewhere in here,
2490.
please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So congratulations on your front yard variance. We'll see you on the 25th of June to deal with the rear. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good night.
I think you should call Miss O'Donnell and get her back. You will figure out which of these is the front or the rear yard.
All right.
Yeah, I just clicked it on the button.
Yes, you want to
Yep.
make sure I don't mess it up? Okay.
You don't have to.
This one, 2644? Is that the one?
They're probably spread all over the place here.
26.
It's all a mess.
42.
Was the legal for, I'll email it to you.
Just save it over there, Bev, and we'll do our next couple of hearings and straighten that out afterwards, okay? Otherwise, we'll be here.
We'll go longer than town meeting distance.
Oh, my God, okay. Okay, we all set. We're going to call to order our second hearing of the evening. This is the 7:45 hearing at 8:36 in the evening. And this is the, Mr. Corcoran, you and your guests can come up and get all settled, and I'll handle some of the procedures. This is the application of the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Boston and Beth Israel Hospital in Milton. Is that the new name? Is that what it's being called? Beth Israel Hospital in Milton?
That part didn't change. The parent name, Beth Israel Leahy Health, is now the parent name. Our name didn't change, though.
Okay.
Beth Israel Deaconess Milton.
That's great, thank you. This application is dated April 9th, 2019, and it seeks to renew a special permit that was requested by the parties on August 13th, 2018, so that they could use 60 parking spaces in the church parking lot at St. Elizabeth's Church. I think it's 350 Reedsdale Avenue. The special permit was granted August 13th, 2019, but limited to 1 year in time because of the uniqueness of the application. Now the applicant is seeking to extend that special permit for a period of 3 years, and also to amend a portion of the special permit to extend the hours of operation from 6:45 in the morning to 5:45 p.m., and from 6:30 to 7 p.m. This property is in a residential C zone. I've summarized the application. We have as evidence the actual application dated April 9th, 2019, filed on behalf of the applicant by Attorney Edward J. Corcoran of his office is in Quincy, Massachusetts, but he is a resident of Milton, Massachusetts. We also have an addendum that Mr. Corcoran has filed with the board outlining the history of this special permit application and the reasons why he believes that the extension should be granted. And we have the earlier special permit, which Mrs. Sutton has provided us with. So, my name is John Leonard, Chairman of the Board of Appeals. With me tonight, to my immediate left is Nick Gray, and to my immediate right is Stephen Lundbohm, both distinguished lawyers and long-term members of the Board of Appeals. The sequence of the hearings will be just as I explained in the first hearing. So without further ado, Mr. Corcoran, welcome back to the Board of Appeals. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's nice to be back. I am joined by Richard Fernandez, who is the President and CEO of the Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital here in Milton.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Fernandez. I wish we had known we could have called you on the phone and tell you to come up here around 9 o'clock at night. Wait, why don't you continue then?
Thank you. We were here last summer, as you indicated, seeking a permit to allow a parking arrangement between the hospital and St. Elizabeth's Church for employees of the hospital. They had entered into a license lease agreement with the Archdiocese on behalf of the church, pursuant to which they would lease up to 60 spaces in the church parking lot for daytime parking for employees. As you know, And I think I indicated then, the hospital continues to grow and is becoming more and more successful. But as a byproduct of its success, it's becoming more and more difficult for people to park when they come to the hospital. And so they've been actively looking for opportunities to provide satellite parking, particularly for employees, and run shuttle service too. So a year ago, this board granted a one-year permit that was effective August 13, and obviously subject to renewal. And we're now back before you, before the expiration, seeking renewal, and to modify a couple of provisions of that permit. One is we would request permission to extend to 3 years the renewal, so we're not coming back on an annual basis. And second, to extend the time frame by 45 minutes, an hour on one end in the morning and a half hour in the evening to accommodate the longer-term shifts that staff and employees have during the day. So going from a 6:45 a.m. start, rather than, actually, it's a 15-minute increase on the morning side, and 45 minutes, or an hour and 15 minutes on the afternoon side. That is consistent with the arrangements that the hospital has made with the church, and so we'd request that. I have two additional pieces of evidence. Last year, if you recall, the hearing went over 2 nights. There was a request that we meet with members of the Traffic Commission, particularly the police, with respect to how traffic operates there, particularly the shuttle. We have a letter from Chief King from the police in terms of how the operation has been operating, supporting the recommendations of the requests provided, and I think on his own motion, suggesting a further modification of the permit, which would allow the shuttle to turn into the property between the existing priest residence and
Into that driveway?
into this driveway here, rather than come up to the light, take the left here.
Turn on Reedsdale.
And one of the things that we've realized as you take this left is that particularly in the afternoon and evening, there's a high volume of traffic coming
Yeah.
south on Randolph. It actually causes a bit of a traffic delay here. But Chief, and I have copies of letters for the board, Chief King thought it would be appropriate to use that driveway because everybody else uses the driveway. And a professional shuttle driver can manage that safely.
But the employees would still use the other.
No, employees are not,
Okay.
the only restriction was for the shuttle itself, employees.
Employees can use either exit,
I didn't remember
most-
that.
entrance.
And I think last year, we also submitted a license plate analysis that basically showed where most of the employees were coming from. Something like 95% of the employees using this lot were coming from south from coming up 28 Randolph Avenue and coming in. So they would either take the left at the light and pull in, or they would come further up and in here. And then as they're leaving, they can come out and take right. So, but there was no restriction on how employees would enter or exit the parking area. I also have a letter to the board from Father Bennett, who is the pastor at the church, indicating that the operation has been good. There's been no complaints from neighbors, that the employees have been respectful of abutters in the area, and encouraging the board to approve the application.
Okay, just give me 2 seconds here. I
Sure.
want to give due deference to Chief King and Father Bennett. Chief King writes on April 26, 2019, writing in support of the application, supports the proposal as it relates to time differences because it will help to accommodate 12-hour employee shifts. It's a long day, isn't it? that he feels that the time change benefits both the employees, patrons of the hospital. He supports the shuttle van entering the church parking lot via Reedsdale Road entrance. Not aware of any neighborhood concerns, does not have any public safety concerns related to that type of egress. It simply allows the shuttle to do what every other vehicle entering the property does. And he believes the adjustments will have a minimal impact on the neighborhood and provide a better traffic flow. So we thank Chief King and for giving us this letter as part of the application, and Father Bennett. He hopes the letter finds us well and in peace. I'm not sure we're in peace after the first hearing, but we're certainly working at it. And he indicates the relationship between the hospital and St. Elizabeth's is a healthy relationship. He believes that the arrangement set forth in Mr. Corcoran's application is beneficial to both parties. He's had no complaints whatsoever from neighbors to date, that the hospital employees have been abiding by the hours and they don't create any noises or disturbances, and they have been very courteous to the transport vehicles. The parishioners haven't been negatively impacted. They have sufficient spots for parking for their daily masses, which are always on a regular basis there, and funerals, which obviously are on an irregular basis. Been no negative impact to the religious education for families of use of parking lot. He believes that opening up that entranceway to the shuttle is convenient and has no adverse effect on the lot. He believes that the parking at BI parishioners have told him, and we know he's telling us the truth here, that Beth Israel Milton parking is better when you're at the hospital grounds than it used to be as a result of the utilization of this church lot. And whenever he's been called to the hospital to visit the sick, he has found parking to be available there. I hope he'd have a special spot for Father Bennett, but I'm sure you do. Grateful. Ask that the special permit be continued as requested. And he thanks us for his service to the town of Milton. Well, we thank Father Bennett for his service to St. Elizabeth's. I was at St. Elizabeth's last Sunday and saw Father Bennett there who said Mass, and I thought he was just a recent graduate of high school. And he just, it's refreshing to see somebody who's young and vigorous. And he is certainly both of those. So, Mr. Corcoran, what else do you have to say in support of this application, if anything?
Unless the board has questions, I think I've covered it. I would, as I said, ask on sort of an oral motion for the additional relief requested relative to the ability to use the driveway for the shuttle. But otherwise, as laid out in the application, we'd appreciate the board's favorable vote.
Okay, great. Mr. Fernandez,
I would just say, I would echo the father's thing. We have made improvements to parking, and this has been, one of them. And I do think patients have noticed. So.
I do too, and I take it you endorse and are thrilled with Mr. Corcoran's presentation tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask, is there anybody here present who wishes to speak in support of this application? Okay. Is there anybody present who has questions of Mr. Fernandez or Mr. Corcoran? And there is no such person present. Is anyone present this evening who wishes to speak in opposition to the amendment of the existing special permit as explained by Mr. Corcoran? And there's no such person present. So, Mr. Corcoran, if you have nothing further to add, we'll end the evidence portion of the hearing and consider this application in open session now and vote on the application. Mr. Lundbaum, do you want to be heard
Thank
first?
you, Mr. Chairman. This is a good result. I sat on the first hearing, and you did a great job tonight, Ned, and you did a good job the first time around. We had to tweak a few things the first time out, get some input from the Traffic Commission, and we were kind of working on that turn. We kind of, didn't know which would work out better, but, you come back a year later and you see, just by application of the process, how it developed and what seems to be the right way to go now, just in terms of traffic. And when you have, the acknowledgement by the chief as to what he would like to see happen, and of course the great letter by Reverend Bennett, touching on all those important points that we may have had some questions or concerns with the first time around, but the fact that the neighbors seem to be satisfied with it, that the employees are getting great benefit from it, and the fact that it's sort of alleviated the issue up at the hospital. I think it's a great process that we went through here to get it going, and I think that the increase in hours seems minimal on the front side and not onerous on the back side. I guess 3 years from from August of 2019 going forward is the request. I don't see any issues with it at this point.
Mr. Gray?
I would agree completely. I haven't heard anything, any issues at all, anything negative that has occurred during the operation of this special permit over the last year. I think in light of that, it makes sense to grant the 3 items of relief being sought, and also to extend it for 3 years, just for sake of efficiency and reliability for the employees. So I would tend to vote in favor of it.
Okay, well, look, I agree with my colleagues. I want to thank Chief King and Father Bennett for writing fairly detailed letters in support of the application and not pro forma letters. I think this arrangement has worked out very well for all sides. Everyone has acted appropriately. I think there have been no accidents. The church has been accommodated. I can remember being at Milton Hospital 3 years ago, something like that, having to drop my wife off so she could run into her doctor's appointment while I drove around and around and around and finally found a spot.
We have free valet if you ever want it.
Well, I'm not, this may have been pre-valet, but this works for all parties, and it's a thrill to see Milton Hospital, quote unquote, being as successful as it's been, and continuing to thrive in a very difficult residential area. So I agree with my colleagues. I think the conditions are reasonable, and so I intend to vote in support of this amendment to the special permit. So all those in favor of amending the special permit as requested by the applicants?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Sorry to keep you so late.
It happens.
We'll crank this out in due course, and best of luck for the next 3 years.
Thank you very much. Stop by anytime.
Way to visit.
Oh, well, it's,
We do prevention too, just so you know. We're about health, not just,
well, okay, that's, I believe that. It's,
It's one of the great, I'll say this publicly, I think it's one of the 2 great contributors to the value proposition in this town. The schools, public and private, and the hospital. And the hospital is almost an invisible thing, because it's really not visible from either entry, but it's a magnificent facility.
until you need the hospital at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's going to take you an hour and a half to get into B.I. Deaconess in Boston. It's, everyone's been wonderful there, and it's, the improvements have been great, and it's great.
Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good. You here with the
I
next?
get the next one.
Seats warm.
Yeah.
Good night.
At 7 o'clock in the morning. All right.
Okay.
What's the matter? You okay? Thank you. Okay, we're going to call to order our third and last hearing of the evening. And this is the 8 o'clock hearing at 8:56. So we certainly apologize to everyone here for being delayed. This is the application of Dana and Petra Clark. It's dated April 1st, 2019. And the applicant is proposing to build a 28-foot by 28-foot attached garage with a partially covered roof deck at the rear of the residence at 33 Maple Street, all at a distance of 17 feet 6 inches from the property line. This is a house that was built in 1890 and is dimensionally and pre-existing non-conforming. And the applicants are seeking a special permit here on the basis that the proposed changes are not more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists. The existing structure was originally built 12 feet from the front property line when 20 feet are normally required, all as set forth in the application. We have as evidence, we have the application by Edward J. Corcoran. We have Mr. Pondek's denial letter, 3/14/2019. We have a plot plan of the subject property showing the proposed, we have two plot plans. Maybe it's one copy of the same. And Mr. Corcoran has handed us in the maps from Maps Online site. I was looking for this the other day on one of the properties, so I'll have to make a copy of this. I can,
It's really a good site.
yeah, it really,
Easy to
it
use.
drove me crazy. I was looking at all the,
You even get topography. Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's very,
You can turn that contour on.
so that is very nice. I've got to write that down. Would have made
If you
my
go
life-
on, if you go onto the town's website and go to the engineering, to the Department of Public Works, and
Yeah.
within that, to the engineering site, you can go into GIS mapping.
Yes,
When you do GIS mapping, you can then search properties,
yeah.
and you can expand and contract the map. You can save it as PDFs and print. It's really a,
Did this come from the town's GIS site?
yes, I
Oh, okay.
downloaded those from the.
Got it. Got it. I love that.
you'll have to give me a lesson on that, because I did find the GIS mapping,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get it to work. But I'm sure it was my lack of sophistication dealing with these things. I should have called Beverly Sutton, and Beverly could have saved the day for me. Mr. Corcoran, welcome back to the Board of Appeals. We're delighted to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm joined by Dana and Petra Clark, who are the owners of the property at 33 Maple Street. 33 Maple is, like many of the properties in town, substantially, in some way or another, pre-existing, non-conforming to our zoning. Most of the town was built before our zoning was put in place, and then I think zoning tried to catch up with some of it. But in any event, because the front of the property is not conforming to zoning, it's only 12 feet, the dwelling is only 12 feet off the front of the property. Mr. Pondek has determined that they need a special permit to address modifications to the building where there is a nonconformity. So the
Do you
proposal,
agree with him on that? There seemed to be a quiver in your voice.
I'm not sure I disagree. I think it is
The lawyer answer. I got it.
it's a somewhat technical
Yeah.
analysis, but that's what we do. There is a typo, as I noticed, in his
His denial.
denial letter
Yeah,
regarding the size of the
not 228
building
feet
at 228 foot
building.
garage.
That jumped off the page to me.
Yeah, was corrected in the ad.
It's a big,
So
That would be a
very
big,
big deck.
that was a good catch by.
It's no longer an aircraft carrier.
So we thank you, Bev, for your catching that one.
So, basically, what I've done is I've provided this evening several additional items. The first three are taken from the town's website, maps online. Properties you can see, 33 Maple Cross. There's actually a house on a property behind it that is substantially non-conforming, has no frontage, but was built and divided well before zoning. They have a shared driveway. And basically, there's a deck off of the rear of the building that, as you can see. The plan is to essentially remove that deck and replace it with a garage. The second sheet is a more close-up. And really, one of the things I wanted to highlight was the fact that the location of this deck, of this garage, will be going essentially up against two other garages. There's a garage in the rear for the property in the rear, and there's a garage next to it for the property at next door at 37. And then the third, turned on the contours. You can see that there's a reasonable elevation change as that property slopes down the hill towards Central Avenue. It's about a 6-foot drop from the edge of the left edge of the house down to the 60-foot topography line. And so that's a pretty significant little drop. So the garage itself will tend to be set down and less obtrusive than it might otherwise be. The next two sheets are photographs of the rear of the property that the Clarks took. There's the deck itself, which will come off and then be replaced with the garage. And what I have are the schematic plans that were provided to me by their architect that basically show, as you come off the existing house, there'll be retain a stairway down. But the garage will come off the rear, and the entry to the garage will be at the basement level. As you can see on the second of those two sheets, the main entry to the garage will come in at the basement. There's a doorway into the basement. So
Where are the vehicles coming into the
they're going to
garage?
come in the side, so basically,
Oh, I
there'll be
get
a
you.
side entry for the garage. I have 3 letters of support from neighbors. The neighbor to the immediate right, the neighbor across the street, directly across the street at 34 Maple, and then the neighbor to the rear at 29 Maple have all spoken in favor. The Clarks have met with other neighbors and have not heard any objection or concern about the plan. With that, I would open it to questions, and
Mr. Gray?
So I think that you said 29 supported?
number 29, which is the one in the rear,
Yeah.
34, which is directly across the street, which is the grade,
Yeah.
and then 25, which is immediately to the right.
Nothing from 37?
Nothing from
No
37.
opposition.
No opposition. He doesn't live there. He's a landlord who lives in Cambridge.
All right, right, well, I guess I don't have any questions. I would just note that, as you pointed out, that the proposed garage would be basically in a land of garages back there. So it would sort of by definition fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. I guess here's the question, where do we park now? On the driveway?
Circular driveway.
On the driveway, yeah. So you could argue that that helps to, provide more parking, yeah,
And,
storage and stuff. A place to put the snow blower.
and the cars, and so out of view.
Yeah. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Lundbaum, please.
Ned, can you talk about this mention of a roof deck over the garage? How is that gonna look? It's a flat deck. Will it line up with the sliding glass door?
Ah, I did not see this one. So this is what the, yeah.
Man.
So we're going to be invited to these parties? That's a wonderful space.
It's quite an attractive space.
That is
Yeah,
sweet.
it really is. I was going to
So
say something, and I decided not to. It's just- I'm sorry.
Wiser man than I am.
Entry onto this
Yeah.
deck here from the sliding area here, the slider? Very nice, very nice.
I like that.
Can you put a fire pit out there in the wintertime and
Sure,
everyone gets
probably
cozy?
could, yeah, probably could, yeah.
He'll bring his ROTC group up from Brockton High School, and they'll
Woo them.
put it all in for them and all that. Sergeant Clark is retired from the United States Army and runs the ROTC program at Brockton High School.
I was in your beautiful city a few days ago looking at a piece of property. It's being taken by eminent domain by the city of Brockton. Awful things. Hasn't changed very much. No. Everyone in the courthouse was still there and functioning. But no, it's a very impressive project.
So,
That's it for me.
Okay, I don't have any questions of Mr. Corcoran or the applicants. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't,
Okay, anybody present who wishes to speak in support of this application? There is no such person present. Anyone present to ask questions of the applicant? No such person present. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the application? And there's no such person present. I think they all want to be invited up to the deck. That's why they're not. So, do you have anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Corcoran?
I don't. I appreciate the board's time. Thank you.
I'm sure Mr. Mullen may want a copy of that sketch of the deck. He collects wonderful and exciting additions to houses so that he can contemplate them for his own house. Do you want to be heard on this application?
oh, I am very impressed with the proposal. I think it looks like it will be a fine addition to the house. Judging from the diagrams and the pictures provided, I would find that it doesn't increase it's not more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists. So I would be in favor of granting the special permit, and as far as the dimensional change required, it's not particularly significant. So I would intend to vote in favor of both the variance and the special permit.
Mr. Lundbaum?
We're on a variance and a permit?
Well, I'm just looking at the letter, so I'm not,
I don't think so.
Is it just a
I think
special
it's just a
permit?
special
Permit,
permit.
okay.
Is that right?
I beg your
didn't
That's
see
the
it.
way he's crafted it. and-
I'm sorry, I didn't look at the legal
No,
notice.
I didn't see
I'm
any
just looking at the
variance
letter.
issue here.
No, I agree. This is, we just had a recent case like this a couple of hearings ago on the question of the increase of the nonconformity with one of these small-scale extensions. And I guess there was a recent SJC case on it that we applied in the last case. It fits in here. And it's an excellent design. Boy, looks like it's going to be a nice job. And especially with the support of that most affected abutter in the rear, that was key for me, I think. All in all, I would tend to vote in favor.
Well, I thought the application was very well presented. I appreciate all of the diagrams and Mr. Cloco's new guide to me on Maps Online sites, so I've cured a problem that I had. I think the plans are excellent. I think that this is obviously a pre-existing non-conforming residence, and that this is a wonderful addition to it. The changes are certainly not detrimental to the neighborhood that would currently exist. This is a great improvement to the neighborhood. I'll have to leave to you folks dealing with your neighbors who may be very jealous when they see this improvement, because it's really exciting. Did you design this yourself, or did you, an architect did it? Who was the architect, could I ask? Do you remember?
Yeah, we went with Mako Construction, and he has an architect that works with him, Carlos.
Okay, well, Carlos knows what he's doing. He did a wonderful job, and it's going to be exciting for you. So I intend to vote for this application as well. So all those in favor of granting the special permit, finding that the proposed changes here are not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So congratulations on your special permit. Sorry we kept you so long.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Enjoy it.
Yes.
Fun.
Sounds
I'm
great.
familiar with Mako's work. I've done work in my house. They're excellent,
It's a very
excellent builder. They're great.
So with all of that, 9/11, we're going to adjourn.
Thank you.